Welcome to the newest episode of The Process of Fat Loss, where our goal is to help you understand the best way to lose fat and live a healthier life. Join us as we discuss some of the toughest and most valuable topics in health and fitness. It's that time of year. The holidays are upon us. Thanksgiving is next week, and Christmas and New Year's are just around the corner. And this is often the hardest time of year for a lot of people in regard to nutrition and health and things like that. So today we're going to fill up your tool belt with everything you need to survive the holidays. So you guys can sit back, maybe take out your notebook, write some of these down, and I'll let Trevor take it away.
All right. Thanks, Nick. I'm going to help you take a couple of simple steps towards approaching the holiday season differently than anyone has ever taught you. As a result, by January 2nd, everyone will be scrambling to lose weight, and you've already been down maybe 5 pounds. So the reality of this situation is that research shows that people only gain 1 pound during the holiday season. This is a far less than I think most people would think when they leave the holidays. They're like, oh man, I'm 5 pounds heavier. A lot of that's inflammation, sodium, like just carrying a little extra like a water weight around from there. But like realistically, you probably gain about a pound of body fat is what they have in research studies. The downside of this is that 1 pound is never lost. Instead, it's held on to and up to 1 more pound is tacked on during the rest of the year. So let's say if for the average person, they're gaining in studies. Now this is studies, remember. Studies are showing that people are gaining about 2 pounds a year, 1 complete pound during that 6 week in the holidays, and then 1 pound during the rest of the year. So while 1 pound of weight gain during the holiday season might not seem a lot, for most people it's a catalyst for a long-term age-related, which just means over time, age-related weight gain.
Now I understand you kind of have a little bit of context to lay out some expectations before we really get going into the tips, right?
Yeah, so we call it the big promise. If you follow the strategies that we're going to talk about in today's podcast and follow your regular scheduled training routine, and that's ideally 3 times a week of resistance training at GCP, or if you're not working out GCP, just resistance training in general, which means that we're using some type of weights, dumbbells, kettlebells, bands, body weight work is resistance training as well. You'll be roughly 5 pounds lighter by January. This isn't a massive amount of weight though, as you'll lose under 1 pound per week. But if you ask anyone on the street if they would like to be 5 pounds lighter kind of the first of the year, you'd probably be pretty enthusiastic. Plus, you didn't gain 5 pounds, so roughly it could be like a 10-pound swing, honestly.
Yeah, so let's dive into the meat of the podcast here. Get going with our top 10 survival tips for the holidays. Trevor, I'll let you take these away.
So these are just tips that we've learned over the years that have helped people guide them through the holiday season. And so when we think about the holiday season, it really comes down to events, right? So people have a lot of holiday events, from Christmas events, Hanukkah events, just Thanksgiving during that time, sporting events going on a lot, Christmas parties with work for work. There's a lot of those things. So these are just tips to get those through those holiday events simpler. And not just holiday events, there's other things too, but like really concentrating on the holiday event side. So first one is don't graze. So when you grab a small plate, so when I mean a small plate, I mean a small plate, right? We're looking at the side plates. Usually when you go to an event, they'll have like the big plate for the main meal, and then you have like maybe the appetizer plate or the side plate. You want to grab that side plate. Then you're going to go ahead and fill that up with as much food as you want. You can fill it up pretty good because it's a small little plate. And then I want you to walk away from the table. Don't hang out by the table. Snacking, because what happens is when you do hang out by the table, you'll just snack the entire time, right? Those calories add up. So if you're just like sitting over top of a dip, right? And you're just kind of grabbing a chip every once in a while you're talking to somebody and you're dipping that thing, you have no idea how many calories you're putting in your body at the time. So we don't want you to graze over the thing. We want you to take the food and get away from the table. Number 2, we're going to plan out our meals that we're going to have at the week of the parties, right? So the idea here is I would say most people probably have 1 party a week. Sometimes they'll have 2 parties depending, but like we're just going to kind of idea is you have 1 party a week. But figure out what days that you have the party, right? So let's say the party's Friday night. Then I want you to plan the meals on a calendar on what you're going to do. What meals can't you control? You can't probably control that meal that you're going to go to, right? Meaning like you don't know what food's going to be there. You might be able to bring your own food, but most likely you don't know what food's going to be there. So let's control all the meals leading up to that point. So we can, let's say in a given week, we have 21 meals, so 7 days, 3 meals a day. And we only are going to have 1 meal that's going to be off plan, right? So we have 20 meals we can plan. So what if throughout that week, we ate really well and we had that 1 meal that was off plan, you didn't eat so well? No big deal, because you had 20 meals that outdo that 1 meal, right? And even on that day, you can always be like, okay, maybe I won't eat as much food on that one day. So number 3 is throw away any leftovers. So don't keep any leftovers from parties. So if somebody's like, hey, take this plate home with you. No, I'm going to leave it. You can go ahead and have it. Or like, oh, I'm not going to take it with me. I'll probably just throw it away. Most times, if you say you're going to throw away food, people will keep the food, right? So don't take any leftovers home with you. If you have a party at your house, try to send as many leftovers with people. Try to make sure that you don't have any leftover as much as possible, because that's a lot of times food that you shouldn't be eating. It's not the cleanest food. Now, if you just grab a plate full of meat or something, it's probably no big deal. But like when we're talking about leftovers, people are usually keeping potatoes, and they're keeping refried beans and things of that nature. They're trying to keep like foods that they shouldn't be eating. Don't skip your workouts is number 4. So life gets busy during the holidays, and we get a lot of people that start to skip on their workouts. Like, I don't have time for that. You do have time for it. You didn't make time for it. You kind of put other things as priority. But if you're really trying not to lose weight during this time, it's a huge priority for you. Meaning, like, you need to make sure that we keep those workouts in our routine all the time, because they're giving you good endorphins. They're reducing the stress from the holidays, as well as we're burning excess calories, which allows you to keep weight off. It's kind of a built-in calorie deficit and peaceful, and gives you a peaceful mind and less stress during that time. Number 5, don't confuse your goals with others' gluttony. So this is how I kind of say is like, when you go to a party, you have goals, and the people that you're there with have goals. And maybe they don't have goals, honestly, but like everybody kind of has goals. But just because they have a different goal than you doesn't mean that you should be able to do what they do. So maybe that one person that you are there eating with, they don't have any weight loss goals. Maybe they're trying to bulk, right? So it's kind of like, I'd use an example of me and Nathan. Like if Nathan's at a party and what Nathan eats and I eat should be different, because I'm usually in a weight loss journey and he's usually in a muscle gain journey. So he's probably going to try to eat way more food than me and get more carbohydrates than I am. I'm not trying to get those. So we just need to make sure that I don't want to confuse my goals with what their goals are. And their gluttony is usually when people are just, I give up today. I'm just going to go ahead and snack. I'm going to eat like all these treats. I'll get back on my train tomorrow. But you got to remember, your goals are really important, and you might want to be able to like lose weight during this time. So try to stay away from the desserts and try to focus on what your goals are. Number 6, sample all the treats you want, but put them on a side plate. So again, it's that small little plate we're talking about. Go ahead and go to the dessert thing and put on whatever you see. Now, I don't want this one to be as stacked as high as your food plate would be, but go ahead and take a little bit of every dessert that you like, right? And go ahead and try it. I mean, it's a small little plate. We'll be fine. You don't have to like overindulge. But the idea is we don't need you to white knuckle through this time and avoid all these foods. Go ahead and have those treats. People may bring amazing desserts to these things. It's okay to have a little bit of them. Let's just not go nuts on them. Put a small little plate. You get one plate. You don't get to refill that plate. You get one plate, and make sure that you do like get the little things that you want to try. If you want to try something, put a little bit on your plate. Get that over with. And as soon as you're done with that, I'd also recommend making sure you're drinking some water to get rid of some of that sweetness on your taste buds. Number 7, 1 glass of water for every alcoholic drink. So we're not asking you not to drink during the holidays. We know that's not a realistic ask. But if you could drink 1 glass for every alcoholic drink, it's going to help you stay a little bit more hydrated. It's also going to have you drink a little bit less because you'll be more full. Your stomach will be more full from the water. And also it will help you reduce the speed of alcohol you're drinking as well, which will then make it so you probably don't drink as many throughout the day or throughout the evening. Number 8, eat a big meal before you go out. So if you're somebody that has a tendency to overindulge at these parties, I would eat a nice meal before you go to somebody's party, right? So I would probably eat some steak, and I'd make sure that I would have myself pretty full before I go there. So that way I can just have those small little plates, have 1 or 2 small little plates of things I want to try. And you don't have to avoid like eating foods when you're there. You can just graze a little bit on those foods. You have just a little bit on your plate. You can have a little bit of that. So you don't have to be like, oh man, I'm not going to eat. But most people are not paying attention to how much food you eat. They just want to know if you have a plate or not. So you just get a small little plate. But if you eat a good meal before you go out, you know that you're not going to eat a lot of the crap when you're there. Number 9, eat your main meal on a small plate. So again, we're going to come back to that small plate idea so many times, because that small little plate is going to be a key tool. So like we did the grazing with a small little plate. Just if you're going to have a snack, take that away. We did the dessert with a small little plate. You only get 1 of those, right? And then with a small plate though, you can go ahead and take this small plate and you can fill it up as many times as you want. But the nice part is that you fill up a small little plate, you take it down, you go sit down, you eat. The funny part is you'll actually go back way less with a small little plate, and you'll have less food on the plate each time than you would if you had a big plate. So the idea there is we're just going to reduce your calorie intake by telling your mind it's already ate a whole plate and it most likely doesn't need another plate. So it's always good to have that so we can reduce that overeating problem. Number 10, no unhealthy foods in the house. So this is more during the whole holiday season. If you guys are anything like my family, my mom usually gives us all a bunch of treats for the holidays and our stocking stuffers. And so when that happens, like you'll have a lot of treats sitting around the house consistently, or if you're working in a business and people send you treats in the business, try to do your best to get those out of the house. So if let's say you get a box of chocolates from a company, take those into work the next day and try to like spread it across your team, right? Have them eat it instead of having you eat it, but try to keep the unhealthy foods out of the house as much as possible. For me, I have some tips like don't buy eggnog because that's a big thing for me during the holidays. Try not to keep eggnog in the house, as well as cookies. Those are things that I usually have during the holidays, and I need to avoid those. So find those things that during the holidays that are unhealthy, but you snack on a lot. So just keep them out of the house.
So thanks for sharing all those tips with us, Trevor. Hopefully you guys listening were taking some notes, writing those down. We will have them all in the show notes as well for you guys to look back on. So what are some things that our listeners can take away from this survival guide?
The holidays are an amazing time for family and friends, and we don't want to ignore that. Like, we want to make sure that you understand that it's totally fine. But most people leave the holiday season, they feel miserable. They don't feel good to their body. They don't feel like they need to get back on that New Year's resolution, right? They got to get going on that because they feel so bad. But if you follow these simple 10 tips we have above, you'll actually probably leave that holiday season feeling great, but then you'll also be really motivated to attack that new year and keep going hard and have a great weight loss journey. We do have the holiday survival, and we'll attach that in the show note, a holiday survival guide, which is this with a little bit more, that we'll attach in the show notes and on our blog as well.
Yeah, so thanks for listening, all you guys. Hopefully you can take some of these tips that we gave you and implement them a little bit during the holiday season coming up here. I hope you've all enjoyed the discussion on today's topic. Remember, the best time to start living healthier is today, so make sure to take action in your life right away. If you enjoyed today's episode, please give us a review, subscribe. You can follow us on social media to stay up to date on our upcoming episodes and topics. If you have any ideas for things you want us to talk about or any questions, you can always let us know by sending us an email, messaging us on social media. You can leave comments even to let us know what those topics are. I hope we can answer those questions for you. Thanks again for listening, and I hope you will join us for the next episode of The Process of Fat Loss.
Have a great holiday season, guys.